And we have our new system going. I don't know if you can see it, but at the top, that's the whole council chambers. And then down below where Jody is where the little owl is that she got. And I think you can hear pretty good. So far, everybody else is. We have one more attendee, and it is not somewhere. Okay. All right. So I will go ahead and start the council meeting off with the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. That is not very smooth on Zoom. And with that, I will turn it over to Chair Pagano for the Urban Renewal Agency.
Okay, so today we're going to be same thing we discussed last meeting, but we're just going to discuss a little bit further and see what you guys think. So we're going to start the Urban Renewal meeting now at 6:04, and go ahead and do roll call for me, please.
Okay, Mayor Kaufman? Present.
Present, but not technically part of the agency.
But you do get to participate. You still get to vote. Okay, and I don't see that, on the attendee list, I don't see that Councilor Madison, who she is excused, so, Councilor Bradley.
Here.
Councilor Pagano, Chair.
Here.
Councilor McGilvery.
Here.
And Jody Fritz is here. Okay, so we do have a quorum.
Perfect, thank you. So, last month, Mayor and I and Lindsay Dixon were able to get together with the group that Coal Beach Main Street was speaking with about looking at doing the underground power project. And we we just basically got to verify everything that they told us. It was pretty good. We got to ask some of our questions. They answered them as best they could. It was pretty informational, but nothing new besides what we already did know. So, do you guys have any questions for us about what we have to talk with them? Or any questions about what administrators put in the agenda? Anything?
You
Discussion? Anything?
I have a question,
Okay.
and that is in going through the notes that Jody sent us. I noticed that the Gold Beach Main Street project had several ideas in their head, and they seem to be kind of locked into the underground utilities. And the question for me is, because some of these things came up before my time, so it was interesting for me to go back and read. Some of these other projects that they have in their mind also cost money, and I'm wondering if those have kind of gone by the by, and the only thing they're concerned about now is underground utilities, or are all these other projects on the table, and they had money, they needed money for those too. Can what happen to some of those other projects, and do we need to prioritize?
That's going to be, Lindsay, are you on here? My panelist list is.
I am. Which project specifically, Councilor McGilvery?
There was a lengthy list. Let me see if I can go back to it here. Boy, I'm gonna down and find it now.
I think, well, I could probably fill in, some of it was before my time as well, but
Yeah.
I think some of it was like the fence by the bridge, if I'm,
It was that and, let me dig through here a minute. Because
sorry, I would say in general, most of them are still on the long-term agenda, but we're actually going through a strategic consulting right now to kind of like figure out where those next steps are. And I would say that right now, the ones that we're focusing on are the ones we know that there's funding for, with kind of how the grant world has shifted with the pandemic. So things are a little less about beautification and kind of more about, you know, I'm sorry, I didn't think that out very well, but less about beautification and more kind of about infrastructure and disasters right now.
okay. Okay, I understand that. They had several, things on the table, and I was just kind of wondering where all that went.
Yeah, and
What happened there.
I think a lot of it too, we're still working with all those foundational partners to look at those in the long run, but foundational partners have also kind of shifted what they want to fund in the short term. So like right now, we're working on making sure that there's money in the salary for a employee and also strategic plans getting worked on so that way. Because Main Street's still a pretty young organization. Yeah. And Mayor Kaufman, I'm sorry, you had your hand up.
Yeah, I thought I might be able to wrap up what you were saying as well. So I think the Main Street gets to decide what they ask urban renewal or the city for. And this is what they've asked for this year. And so if they want us to ask for more stuff, they probably know we don't have any more money. Doesn't mean they won't ask, because they're very good at that. And my 2 cents on the project, I was on the Gold Beach 2010 committee back in 1993, and this was a project listed on their strategic plan. And so far I know it's been talked about for over 20 years. And
Yeah, I read that.
I don't think there's any other group of people I have ever seen that has the potential to make it happen besides Main Street. And they've recruited some really strong committee members. I think if anybody's going to make it happen, it's probably going to be this group. They're a very strong group of people that get a lot done. And as I've said before, they're hard to say no to.
Yeah. Good. Okay.
Anything else, Counselor?
No, I think that answers that question, thank you.
Counselor Bradley?
I've only got one that's more for Administrator Fritz. If we were to approve this, do we have the funding that we would not have to back out on somebody that we've already approved a prior project?
What the mayor and Chair Pagano had discussed with Main Street, which it's doable, and it was actually Chair Pagano's idea. Good idea, Mr. Pagano. The ARPA money that we got, we can backfill that on the housing and then use whatever it is that you guys want to. They've asked for $30,000 for this. That's up to you what you guys want to fund. But we have a way. We have to do a supplemental budget to receive that ARPA money anyway. So we can just make a supplemental budget and we can use a portion of the money because the ARPA money we had already earmarked for housing. So it's just
Okay.
it's just paying it out of a different pot of money.
Okay, now that was my only concern is if we said yes, if we would have to backtrack and break our word to somebody we already made promises to.
Nope, we're good.
Okay.
I think we could do that.
Are there any other questions or discussion items? Is this something you guys want to move forward on, or?
There is a suggested motion on page 8 of your packet if somebody is interested.
Okay. I'm taking it that we have $30,000 to hand them.
When we do the supplemental budget, yes, that was what I was,
Okay.
that's what I mentioned on the previous page, and then just what Councilor Bradley's
Yeah.
question was.
Mhm.
Okay.
Can the chair make a motion?
Yes.
All right.
Good, because my computer's not acting quickly. Get back to page 8.
So I'll go ahead and make a motion, the Urban Renewal Agency fund the Gold Beach Main Street grant request in the amount of $30,000 for a portion of the cost to fund the feasibility study for undergrounding electric, telecom, TV, and other overhead utility lines on Ellensburg Avenue, contingent upon successfully funding the remainder of the study costs. The feasibility study must include any potential additional costs from the various utility programs in regards to specific utility requirements for undergrounding.
I'll
Second,
second.
second. I don't know who was first, you guys tied.
I'm gonna call
yeah.
Gilbury.
Okay,
Okay, any discussion? Okay, if it's okay with you, Chair Pagano, I'll just poll everyone.
perfect.
Bradley,
Aye.
Pagano,
Aye.
McGilvery,
Aye.
okay. Passes 3-2-0. Okay. So we are now done with the urban renewal, so if you have anything else to add, Chair Pagano, otherwise you may adjourn that meeting.
I have nothing further to add. Let's go ahead and adjourn the urban renewal meeting and get ready for city council.
Okay.
I'm trying to look at the agenda. Can we start early? It looks like most people are here.
Yeah, the agenda says 6:30, but I think everybody that wanted to participate, because I was looking at can you look at the participant list, Mayor?
Yep.
Okay,
Yeah, it looks like everybody for the items are here.
correct.
So I think I'll go ahead and start a little early.
Okay,
And if somebody comes later and wants an update, we'll backtrack a little bit. So the first item is the consent calendar, which didn't get put in the packet, so we will postpone that until next month. And then the next item is the Master Gardeners Association greenhouse location request. And I will let staff introduce that.
okay, at the end of the November meeting, I had in my notes that the mayor had requested, we'll read it so I get it right and not mess it up. Have staff check city facilities other city facilities that it could be put at with adequate parking. So myself and Superintendent Newdall, we discussed, the city doesn't own a lot of property. So we discussed the various parcels that we own, and the only one that we could come up with would be down at the visitor center, which that isn't necessarily conducive to the use that they're thinking of. That does have enough parking. And then there's also that parcel that we talked about before, the other city-owned parcel that's vacant, but there's not enough parking there either. But at the sewer plant, water treatment plant, city hall, we really just don't have anywhere that would be conducive to that particular use. And that's all I have.
So I guess the question for the council is, are you interested in offering, assuming the state would allow them to put a greenhouse there, the Visitor Center South Beach Park?
Purpose of greenhouses.
I don't think it would be ideal for them, in my opinion. I mean, maybe we should ask if that would even interest them if that was an option. But I wouldn't like to see a greenhouse down there, in my opinion. It would, with the weather and sand and soils, I just don't see it.
I see that Julia and Ally are here. So maybe I'll unmute Julia and ask. Julia, are you able to unmute?
I am. Did I unmute?
You did.
I did.
You're live.
And Ally also is willing to speak. We really appreciate you looking at options, and this is the first we've really considered this. So we couldn't say right now whether that's perfect, but I agree that it doesn't meet all the criteria that has been listed in the documents that Debbie Carroll and Ally Van Otterloo prepared. So we'd have to reconsider that. We'd love to remain in conversations with the city of Gold Beach to see if there's options either there by the visitor center, or should something at Buffington Park not pan out for you, such as the community garden or the bocce ball courts, we could have future communications. But at this point, it'd be hard to say yes or no.
And the biggest problem at the Buffington Park is we don't have enough parking. And in order to get the parking, we'd have to take away most of our green space.
Oh, yeah.
So that's the challenge.
Agree. And
Parks are supposed to be green space, silly rules.
I think, wasn't there a song about pave the park? River parking lot or something? So, yeah,
there
I
was.
agree with that.
Okay. All right. So we will move on, and they will let us know if they want that space. And now we will go to Dave Lacey and the Oregon Watershed Salmon Project Protection Act. And when Administrator Fritz and I talked about it, we weren't sure if the council was even aware that we did a resolution in 2016. And so we thought it made sense to bring it back up. And then I believe Mr. Lacey was thinking that we might want to write a new letter or update it. So I'm going to unmute you, Mr. Lacey, and you can let us know what you need from us.
All right, can you hear me now?
I can.
All right, thank you. This is, just to repeat myself, this is Dave Lacey. I've been a Gold Beach resident since 1995, and actually I live outside the city limits now, so, but I'm still consider this my home. I just thought I'd give you a quick reminder of what the city had done before and ask for you guys to continue that support with a new letter. Just basically, you don't need much, just maybe put a new date on it, because if you still support this idea. So just a little bit about the history of this. It really came about around 2013 and 14. This was a company called Red Flat Nickel Corporation who wanted to do some test drilling up Hunter Creek, and they are owned by a multinational corporation called St. Petersburg Capital, but I think they recently got sold to another multinational investment firm, so they're passing that company around. But what you really need to know is they have no ties to Gold Beach. They don't live here, they're not from here, and they intend to do test drilling with the second phase, which would be hilltop removal mining or strip mining, as a lot of people know it. It is the most polluting industry in the United States, and they want to extract nickel and other heavy metals from the headwaters of Hunter Creek and Pistol River. These are typically short-term jobs. They take their profits, and then they leave us with the mess afterwards. At least that's the way it's happened in other places around the world. It's very commonplace for that to happen. What we'd be jeopardizing is all the wonderful things we have now, like clean water for all the wildlife up Pistol River and Hunter Creek, all the wells along Hunter Creek. Lots of people get their water from this water table here. There'd be potentially a lot of noise and air pollution from all the trucks moving the ore through our community. Great fishing up there in Hunter Creek and Pistol River. There's quite the tourism economy here. It's a place that locals love to go swimming and hanging out up there. And in fact, if they did do mining, they would restrict access to the area because go exploring while they're doing a big mining operation. There's also a couple of really cool areas of critical environmental concern at Hunter Creek. They're very, very special, and they would be adjacent to where the nickel mining would happen. Also, this is a bigger bill. It's the southwestern Oregon watershed in San Tract. So there is some places a little to the east of here in Josephine, one of the tributaries to the Illinois River that flows into the road, which then would affect, if there was some pollution, it all goes downstream, right? And that's where Gold Beach gets their water. So long story short, we'd be jeopardizing a lot for this multinational corporation to come here and extract all these resources from the area. So I'm just asking that the city maybe renew their letter. It really did a great letter last time. It was very strong. And I think that would just be a very simple way of letting our legislators know that the city still cares about this issue and that we'd like to see it, the area protected. It doesn't do anything else. It just makes it so they can't do mining up there. It doesn't affect any of the other resources. So that's my ask, and thank you for this time.
Thank you. We'll start tonight with Councilor McGilvery, because she gets the beginning vote. So you get to ask questions or give your input at this time.
I do. I have a question. Typically, I have a question. Mr. Lacy mentioned that, kind of in passing, that there were other, I think you said really cool places up by the headwaters of Hunter Creek, and that were environmentally sensitive, at least. Can you be more specific?
Yeah, sure. They're 2 BLM parcels, about 7 or 8 miles outside the city limits. They're called areas of critical environmental concern, and they're protected for their amazing wildlife habitat, botanical resources, and the old historical mining and that used to be up there when they had mules and donkeys doing a lot of the work.
Yeah.
It's just really cool places up there.
Okay, thank you. That's what I needed to hear.
Any other questions?
I'm good.
We'll roll up to Councilor Bradley.
No, I think I don't have any questions or too many thoughts other than just the one thing that doesn't sit well is we keep asking the feds to restrict stuff, but again, I don't like the idea of strip mining, but it does feel like they keep restricting what can happen out there and never do anything to help us, but that's a side note and a personal opinion. So, but yeah, the idea of them strip mining up there, the places I played at as a kid, is disturbing, so.
Councilor McGowan?
I have no questions for Dave, and I'm in support of the county re-upping letter of support.
Okay. I agree with what everybody said so far, and to Councilor Bradley's concerns. I do agree that the government does kind of own a lot of Curry County, and restricting use can be a real problem, but this happens to be one of the cleanest rivers, Pistol River, Smith River, and I wouldn't say Hunter Creek's the cleanest in that section, but it is up above. And they did do some strip mining up there already in the Hunter Creek area, and I don't know if you've had to have been up there. So I'm in favor of it for those reasons. That I think some places do need to stay clean. And I think it was Senator Cruz that said that the Roseburg mine, they're still struggling to get that cleaned up. And he was very much in favor of mining, but he was really frustrated with how they left it in the Roseburg area. So, and you can actually see Google pictures of that one. It's pretty gross.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
I mean, there are areas that make sense. This is probably one of the ones that don't.
No, I absolutely agree, because the idea of strip mining out there, yeah. It's just a personal feeling that the feds always tell us what we can and can't do, and they are never here, but.
At least it's on their land.
Yeah, in this case, I absolutely agree that we should, it just feels like it'd be nice if they actually let us do something out there for once, you know, like Administrator Fritz's original letter, cut a tree and replant it, come on.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm done.
So my only question, Mr. Lacy, is should we reference the HR 980 or just leave it as is?
I think referencing HR 980 would be good.
Okay.
Yeah, 'cause
And
sometimes they combine bills with other, or they merge bills together, and this is the one that we want to support. We don't have to support every other one that's out there, just this one.
okay. And then can I get a motion from the council to reaffirm the letter and the original resolution?
I move that we reaffirm with our letter, the original intent, the original letter.
Is there a second?
Second?
Motion by Councilor McGivory, seconded by Councilor Pagano. I will call the question, and we start with Councilor McGivory.
Aye.
Councilor Bradley?
I,
Councilor Pagano?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Administrator Fritz, do you want to rewrite that, or do you want me to help you do that, or?
I'll see if I have, I might actually even still have the original letter, and then,
Okay.
maybe I'll send it to you, and then you can just refresh it if you wouldn't mind.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate you reminding us.
Have a good night.
Thank you. Okay, we are now at 6:29, and I'm going to make one minor announcement while I'm waiting for 6:30 to hit, because the Armstrongs might be joining us, just in case they do. I just got a text from Councilor Madison, and her father did pass away this morning, so she's not going to be joining us.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
So, certainly send our thoughts and prayers out to her. That's got to be hard.
Yes.
Okay, with that, our next item is a citizens requested item. James and Tanya Armstrong, appeal of City Council Sewer of EDU or equivalent dwelling unit charges. And I do not see them on here.
No, no.
So I will give, I think it's important, the staff did a really good job of summarizing the issue, but I will fully confess that I'm the one that noticed it. I've been checking real estate ads for about 3 years. I saw it, I thought it was absolutely gorgeous. And then I said, hey, by the way, did you know that there's 2 units there? And sure enough, they did not. And so they went ahead and sent the second sewer bill. And I talked to the front office with permission from the administrator, and the only thing that Ms. Honeycutt said was that she wishes she had written a cover letter, and that might have helped the situation a little bit. But the reality is they apparently did this remodel without permits, and so it was just a luck that we found it. And they do not get assessed distance development charges, which they would know if they had applied, and they don't get charged. It doesn't sound like Jody's going to require them to go back and do a zoning permit clearance. I don't know if the county is going to do anything at the assessment level or at the building permit level, but at this point, the only thing that we need to talk about is the second sewer charge. So with that, I'll start with Councilor McGilvery if you have any questions.
And just now, I'm reading their letter.
I did hear back from the building department.
This morning or today?
Yes, and the only permits that they have are the original house when it was built, but there's been nothing subsequent.
Would they know if there was electrical or plumbing permits?
I believe so, because the way I understand it, the Acela program does like statewide, so if there was, because it's a state building permit program, so if they got, the county does plumbing permits, but the electrical permits would be the state, but as I understand it, they would be in that as well, so.
It's an absolutely gorgeous remodel. They did a great job as far as looks.
So if
The
any,
issue is that there's,
Councilor McGilvery has the floor.
the issue is that there's 2 sites on this property.
Yeah, they converted the basement. If you look on page 78, that was the original basement into
Yeah.
page 79, which is the full studio apartment.
Right?
And their argument is it doesn't have a range, therefore it's not an apartment. And I believe staff's argument is that that is a fully rentable space, and it's a second dwelling, it's now a duplex, so therefore they should pay for 2 sewers monthly per the code. Did I quote that correctly, Jody?
Correct.
If it were an ADU with somebody's existing house, would they have 2 sewer bills?
Correct.
Yes.
Yes.
They would.
Yes. The only thing the ADU, in order to encourage people to do the ADUs, is we waive the system development charges, which are about $8,000, the sewer and water. But you do get charged an additional sewer unit, and then water is based on gallons used. So yeah,
Okay.
so they're not being treated any differently than somebody that had another apartment or had an ADU.
Okay. That would be my question.
Anything else? If not, we'll move on to Councilor Bradley.
No, I don't have any comments. Everything seems pretty cut and dry.
Councilor O'Donnell?
I'm in full support of what staff has presented, and I see no reason to change it.
Okay. All right then, I will ask for a motion.
And if you are inclined to make a motion, it would just be that what we've done in the past would just say you reaffirm staff's, or, reaffirm staff's decision to add an additional sewer unit.
I'll make a motion to reaffirm staff's position on adding a second sewer fee, and not waive any additional fees.
Is there a second?
I'm unmuted. I'll second.
Thank you, Councilor Bradley. Okay, so the motion is to reaffirm the city's, or the staff's decision. Focus, Kaufman. Okay, and the second was from Councilor Bradley, and now I will call for the question. Councilor McGilvery?
Nay.
Councilor Bradley?
Aye.
Councilor Vaughn?
Aye.
Okay, 2-1. And next up, to flip my page. Monthly housing strategy implementation update. The grant with DLCD and I can't remember the name of the company.
Angelo?
Angelo Planning got more complicated than I expected. Thankfully, we still have help. Administrator Fritz, the owl, is now looking at the other doors. It's kind of interesting. She whipped around pretty quick there. Oh no, we've got 3 windows now.
It
That's kinda cool.
it must have thought there was something else there.
Ah, it split itself. We're gonna learn how this owl works.
Okay, that's interesting.
Big Demerol.
So, anyway, thankfully Carolyn Johnson has been helping us in her free time. And if I recall correctly, we are now waiting for DLCD to approve the proposal from Angelo, correct?
Yes, it went to them to have them, there's one, so now I'm not sure why it thought there was something, there we go. As I understood it from Mr. Hasty, they look at the scope of work, which you and Ms. Johnson and I looked at, and then they'll decide, what they'll fund or not fund.
And I'll try to put it in English because it's very complicated, and the more we get into it, the more I have questions because I get lost. Basically, we're looking at trying to put together the changes between January and September. We'd like to get it done in 9 months because it seems like everything takes forever. Carolyn thinks that we can do that. Matt thinks that's an aggressive goal. So, but part of how we're going to do that is we're going to have joint meetings with the Planning Commission, so we can do both hearings at the same time. And it does kind of kill two birds with one stone proverbially, because the Planning Commission doesn't have a lot of experience, so, and neither does the council. And so staff, and unfortunately I have some experience with planning, and so we can kind of get you up to speed at the same time. Basically, we're updating our comprehensive plan and some of the zones to make housing easier to do. Did I do a pretty good summary of that, Administrator?
Yes, and it's not unfortunately. We are very fortunate that the mayor was on the planning commission for a very long time. So she has a lot, she brings a lot to the table, so.
And I think I have a volunteer that'll help us as well that used to be on the planning commission. I'm going to try to get her to at least volunteer to help on a committee to work on this.
Okay, great.
She'd be a committee of one. With us. With us, of course. There's no layperson I know of that knows this stuff as good as she does, so she will have time to do that. Status of Cdpg sponsorship and NeighborWorks Umpqua. If you read the council packet, you are probably up to date. If you did not, let us know and we can get you up to date pretty quickly. The question, if you are up to date, is do you want to figure out a way for the city to increase bandwidth to move forward with this grant, or do you want to say thank you, but we no longer have...
Ooh, did we lose you?
Last year.
Last year.
Yes,
Is that better?
Yes.
There you are.
yes. Could
Sorry.
you say again, please?
Sure. So the question is, with the Cdpg grant with NeighborWorks Umpqua, they originally said they were going to do all the work. We found out the hard way that they can't do all the work. So the former employees misspoke, misled, whatever word you want to use. And so the question for us, staff has made it clear that staff does not have the bandwidth to finish this grant. So if we want to move forward, we're going to have to figure out how to fund it by getting an outside consultant or something to assist staff in doing it. Or there is an option at this point to say thank you for the grant, but no thank you. We don't have the bandwidth to do it. It's a repair program where they would come in and make up to $10,000 to $15,000 worth of repairs on your house, which 3 years ago paid for quite a bit. Right now, it won't even pay for a roof. So, not sure it's the best time for us to do it anyway. It's typically a county program. The county couldn't do it because they still had the the Head Start, which was a Cdpg grant, and apparently you can only do one at a time. So, with that, I will let Councilor McGivory ask questions and give input. She doesn't like being first.
I'm feeling a little overwhelmed at the moment. I think I'm too ignorant to ask questions at the moment, and I think I just need to listen for a minute.
We'll move on to Councilor Bradley and come back to you.
I'm not sure I enjoy going pseudo first either.
Yeah.
I technically went first.
Yeah. The only thing I can think of in my only question that popped in my head is how close is the county's Head Start project be going?
It's done.
It's done, so if we say no, then they could, in theory, go approach the county and still maintain the project.
The county can apply next year, yeah.
Okay, thank you. That's all I got.
Councilor Bernard?
I am in favor of withdrawing.
Councilor McGivory, are you ready?
I think so. It's beginning to sound as though if we haven't shut any doors permanently on ourselves, then maybe it is time to withdraw and revisit in a year. Can we do that?
We can, but most likely the county would just take the program back over.
Which would be fine.
Yeah, there were no city, they could identify no city of Gold Beach residents that were going to benefit. There were 11 that were in the 97444 zip code.
Mayor?
Okay, then,
Administrator Fritz?
Okay, and I just wanted to clarify, this wasn't a grant that we technically applied for. I believe that Councilor Bergano was here when we first did this in 2020. But when they had initially contacted the city, it was NeighborWorks Umpqua that had come to us and said, hey, you know, we're gonna do everything, we just need a sponsor, it has to be either a local government or a city. We went to the county, but they can't do it, you know, it was just really like, all we had to do was like sign paper. That was really how it was presented. Well then, immediately the person that had been assigned to it was laid off, and then the other staff that were there didn't really know where to pick up. Like the day after that they called us, they sent me this thing that we had to send out these 8 certified letters to all these people, and it was like, wait a minute, what happened to, we didn't have to do anything, and then it was like, it seemed like it was one thing after another, and it was like, wait a minute, you know, you guys said you just needed the city of Gold Beach to be the sponsor of this, but it sounds like we're doing everything. And they're like, well, but it's not really that much. But then when the mayor sent me this list that she had just gotten from them, I didn't even know that there was still all this other stuff that we still, because that certainly wasn't, we just need the city to be the sponsor. So, so this wasn't a grant that was for a city project, or it's funding anything that we own, or citizens came to us and said, we want to get our roofs repaired or decks built or whatever, and please, you know, sponsor this. It was just, we were kind of second in line, and it was like, okay, well, if there's not a lot involved in it, but just I have to say from a personal standpoint, work-wise, I don't like to apply for stuff that's federal grants related, because there's so much reporting requirements. And you can see in this list that the mayor had put in on page 89, I mean, just last year we had to adopt 3 different new policies that we didn't even have. And it looks like there's actually a couple of more that they would want us to do. But that's because it's related to federal money. So, so anyway, that's a little bit of the history. So it wasn't like that we're losing out on anything. I would like to just actually contact Business Oregon and just say, you know, if there's a way that we can just, now that the county has it available, can we just pass it on to them? Because NeighborWorks Umpqua would still be the one being the agent.
I already asked that question, they
Okay.
can't do that.
Okay.
But the county can reapply any of them in January, which
Okay.
NeighborWorks Umpqua would do most of that paperwork.
So since most of the people that were on the list are not even in the city limits or in the county's jurisdiction anyway, it would make more sense to have the county be the sponsor. So.
And if we voted to withdraw, we would then have the availability, if they came up with something that was a better fit, we could consider that in a future date. Okay.
Right.
I would move that we would withdraw, I might need some help with this Administrator Fritz on how I need to work this.
Mayor, what do you think? You're the one that spoke to NeighborWorks and you talked to Business Oregon too, correct?
Yeah, I would just make the motion to withdraw from the CPDG grant.
Okay. Then I would move that we withdraw from the CDPG grant.
Community Development Block Grant, by the way.
Yeah, I found it now.
I always have to say it out loud because I can't do the acronym because it gets me all tongue-tied, so,
Oh, and those agencies pay it so fast.
yeah.
Is there a second?
Second.
Councilor Bergano seconded. Is there any discussion? All right, I'll call the question. Councilor McGilvery?
Aye.
Councilor Bradley?
Aye.
Councilor Bergano?
Aye.
Motion carries 3-0. Okay, residential STR, short-term rentals. cap. Not sure what cap means. Capacity, violators, and wait list. I'm going to let Administrator Fritz bring this on as soon as she finishes writing what she's writing.
Okay, so the cap was when we updated the code in May for the lodging tax and the short-term rental, where we made it an endorsement for the business license, also with the food trucks. Commercial short-term rentals, no cap on the number. So and that was to encourage short-term rentals in the commercial zone and discourage them in the residential zones, because we want to preserve that needed local housing. So the council at that time, each year we put in the thing that we would look at it with our fee schedule annually, and the council will decide how many slots would be available for residential short-term rentals. Just backing up a little bit, short-term rental, we used to call them vacation rentals, now they're short-term rentals. Short-term meaning 30 days or less. So one of the questions that we had recently was, I'm renting my house for 60 or 90 days for the hospital or the school district or something like that. That doesn't fall under our short-term rental. It's 30 days or less. So, so for those kind of things, that doesn't restrict it. So the 21 number came from, that was when we were having our hearings earlier in the year, that was how many were legally operating at that time. And when I say legally, that meant that they were registered, they were collecting and remitting taxes, they were doing everything they needed to do. So 21 was the cap. So after the council made those changes to the code, it took a little while for staff to put together a new packet for applying for those. And then we contacted all of the 21 that were originally operating and got them what we call reauthorized, meaning they went through the process of the new paperwork. They're now have a business license endorsement to have a short-term rental. So it took a while to get through all of those. Now, in the subsequent time, we had, and this is probably not the kindest word, but it's the word I use, we have violators. People that are not registered are advertising, usually on Airbnb, but some other sites, but Airbnb is usually the worst one, that do not have a business license, they're not remitting the tax, they do not have authorization to be operating. So of the 21 that were legally operating, there were 3 that, for various and sundry reasons, decided that they were no longer operating. Either the property changed hands and the current owner was not living there, or they just weren't doing a short-term rental. So we have 3 slots of the 21 available. Now, we have a list of violators. There's currently 3, and then 1 more that I discovered when I was doing the packet, which they have not yet been notified. And then we also have what's called a waiting list, where after we adopted the code amendments and the cap was put on the 21, if somebody called and said that they wanted to start operating a short-term rental in a residential zone, it was like, okay, right now, all the slots are currently full, we'd be happy to put you on a waiting list. As one becomes available, it's first come, first served. But because this is a sticky situation, I do not mind making difficult decisions, but this is one that is going to have, political ramifications. So something like this, because it's new, I would like the council to direct staff on how you want to proceed. We have 3 slots available, and we have violators that are operating currently without authorization, or we have people that have asked to be put on the waiting list. Who do you want to give priority to? And then secondarily to that discussion is, and the mayor can chime in on this because she has more in her professional life background, do we even want to keep it at 21? Because you have the latitude to decide how many you want. So that's what I need, is just direction from you on how you would like me to proceed with the 3 available slots. Is that good, Mayor?
That is very informational. Thank you. So I think the question you're asking is, do we reward the violators and get them the first 3 slots, or do we go to the wait list who requested And I believe you mentioned that the wait list were people that recently purchased.
Yeah, of the 4 that are on the waiting list, and this is like, I don't want to say that like this is a bad thing or whatever, but of the 4 that are on the waiting list, 3 of them just purchased their property in the last several months. And so that, in my mind, that's again taking available rentals out of the local rental pool, but that's just my own personal opinion.
Okay. Councilor Bernal has a question.
We've already notified the violators and they're still not following. I say we move straight to the waiting list. They follow the rules, they're doing what they're supposed to. They're waiting, and I think we should leave it at 21.
Very succinct, I like it, thank you.
Councilor McGilvery, you didn't have to go first.
That's the only reason I did that for you.
Well, thank you, I appreciate it.
Would you like to go second, Councilor McGilvery?
Yes, I will, thank you. Actually, Councilor Pagano took the words right out of my mouth. The violators, I see no reason to reward them. I think we should be going straight to the list of people who are potentially not violators and who are waiting their turn. I'm also not sure that it's necessary to hold it at 21. If we have the capacity, if we have people who are willing to do it, and we're in such need of short-term housing, couldn't we increase that number?
To be clear, this is not housing, this is vacation rental motel type rooms.
Oh, okay, then,
Yeah.
no, 21. 21, this is a small town. I take that back, I apologize.
I want to make sure we're on the same page.
Okay.
Councilor Bradley, you get your 2 cents.
I absolutely agree with Councilor Pagano. I don't, if you're in violation, you get to go to the back of the line.
Okay, I agree.
So, when they probably should stay at the back of the line until they come in compliance. Also, we've had this less than a year. I think just keeping the number at 21 for the moment and revisiting it in the future is probably our best bet.
And we will revisit it annually when we look at our fee schedule. Usually it's in June, sometimes July.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. We're still, I know staff is still ironing out bugs in the whole situation. Let's not change rules on them while they're still trying to figure it out.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
And then the people that have violated, then if they ask, they can get put on the wait list.
Yep.
Okay.
Probably once they become compliant though, right?
But they can't be compliant until they close.
Yeah, well, and they were notified, I remember July 15th, because it's sticking in my head because I've looked at the letter so many times, and it said in the letter immediately, you must immediately quit advertising and stop renting. I mean, these are people that didn't even have a business license, much less the stuff related to vacation rentals. And when I checked this weekend, every one of them still had reviews in November, so obviously they're still, they're still operating. I haven't, yes, they've gotten a violation letter, and yes, I told them they need to stop, but I haven't started the hardcore enforcement until I got this question answered. And then now.
So to clarify, they didn't even ask to get put on the wait list?
Nope.
Oh, well
No,
then
in fact, one of them actually, I haven't watched the video myself because I'm sorry I can't, but at the county meeting last week, one of the violators was complaining to the county about being in Jody jail, which I thought was kind of interesting. But she hasn't ceased operating, so she's obviously not in jail. But I'm not sure why going to the county was going to help the situation, but she has contacted me numerous times, and in fact, the last time she contacted me was quite upset that it was taking the city so long to process her application, and I explained to her that if she reread the letter in July, it said that you need to stop operating, the number is capped at 21, and you may not get to continue operating if the 21 get reauthorized. I mean, it's very clear right from the beginning that there may not be a spot available. So there wasn't any like just complete the paperwork and you get to go on your merry way. It was a very strongly worded letter that you need to cease and desist, so.
Okay, I don't think I called the question.
Can I have a Jody jail? Is that, like, I think we have an available area here at City
We
Hall.
used to have a jail and it's in your old office.
Yeah, so,
There's a pretty big.
So I don't think I called the question, so I'm gonna call the question. Councilor McGilvery,
I think we should,
Councilor Bradley,
I don't think we actually made a motion.
you
Yeah.
didn't?
No.
if we
Oh, see? I'm way off. Okay, can I get a motion then?
I would move that the staff prioritize people who are on the waiting list to be the first available slots in STRs.
Is there a second?
a second.
Councilor McGilvery seconded. Any discussion? She looks like she's almost done writing.
yep,
Call the question. Councilor McGilvery,
Aye.
Councilor Bradley,
Aye.
Councilor Bergano.
Aye.
Okay, thank you for keeping me in line. Okay, potential code violations related to extended RV use occupancy. So I am a property manager by trade, and when I drive around, I notice things. And I got questioned by somebody that why can't they have an RV at one storage unit when there's one at another? They're having security issues, and the city said no. And so when I did a drive the other day, I noticed that there are several RVs on private lots that appear to be fully functioning with somebody living in them. I believe I counted 6. And so I asked Administrator Fritz, why are we allowing that? And she didn't know about it. So the question comes, if she sends out violation letters, I'm fairly certain some of them are long-term rentals based on the cars that are parked by them. We're going to cause some pretty serious issues for the owners and their potential tenants, and that's going to get a lot of activity on your telephones and emails and Facebook. So I wanted to know if the council would like to do a temporary rule, would like to come up with some sort of time frame to resolve this, or just tell staff to move forward with the code. For a better description, if you own a piece of property and you have a house on it, you can't hook up a full-time RV. You can plug in the electric just to keep it dry inside, but you can't hook up the water and sewer and have somebody live in it. More than, is it 14 days?
correct.
So, and there are several that are doing that. Who wants to talk first? Councilor Begum.
I say we enforce the code. It's nothing new, it's been that way, it's that way in the county as well. I think we should enforce it.
Okay. Councilor McGilvery?
I don't have a comment on that right now.
Councilor Bradley?
Being in a similar work environment as Mayor Kaufman, I've seen a need on that there is a need for some owners to have security at their storage units, but I also think if we were there, it should be done in a way that we know that those places are being used right. So if they pour a pad, put in a sewer hookup so that they're paying for sewer charges on like a storage unit, it might feel different, but when we're talking this, we need to enforce the code. Maybe we need to look at allowing, if there's owners that would like to put in a security to make sure that their storage units aren't getting broken into and would like to put a travel trailer on there, there might be a way that we could do it, but I would think that it involve them paying a water and sewer hookup, but I don't believe that's what staff's bringing to our attention.
At this time, our code does not allow you to hook up an RV permanently.
Yes.
I think the only exception would be if it was an accessory dwelling unit and it has to have skirting and be permanently affixed, correct, Jody?
Yes, the tiny house code, now you can get sideways with building code. Although when I was doing this report, there was a lot of changes in the last year on the building code level with how building code looks at RVs now. They used to regulate RV park models, but they now, as of the beginning of this year, do not regulate RV park models anymore. They are just strictly licensed through the DMV, which I thought was interesting. But that's a whole other issue. But you can use an RV park model according to our code if it is cited like a manufactured dwelling on a foundation as a tiny house or an ADU. But that would be the only way. It can't still be on its wheels and things like that, according to our code right now.
So it can't be a fifth wheel or a travel trailer.
Correct. It can only be, for an ADU or a tiny house, it can only be an RV park model with a foundation, like a manufactured home.
So a travel trailer, motor home that has the motor and all, they have to go in an RV park, or a mobile home park.
Correct.
Those are the only two places they can go.
Unless, like I said in the code, that there is that provision for 14 days in any 30-day period, which, I mean, you think about it, and that's actually a lot for a whole year. I mean, that's basically half a year that it has.
They can't technically rent it.
No, it has to be the owner, family member of the owner, or somebody visiting them, but not for money.
Councilor Romano?
So, I feel like this is gonna be a nightmare on staff to try and enforce this, because what if somebody comes in, I mean, we go to them and complain and say, okay, you're in violation, but they really only had somebody there for a couple weeks.
What I was envisioning was, and this is what I was trying to explain to the mayor when she said that, I mean, staff is aware that there are some out there. I mean, that's like probably the violation du jour, that you know you're on. But as far as like, I wasn't aware that there's one in particular that we had discussed that they actually were hooked up to the sewer. I was not a bit aware of that, and I did go look at it, and yeah, that's definitely no bueno. But as far as the 14 days in any 30-day period, you know, yeah, that's a little bit hard to police. But my first thought was just kind of an educational outreach, is that see if I can see where some of these trailers are and just send the owners a letter and say, I'm not sure if you know this, but you're only allowed to do this for this amount of time. And once they've been notified, then yeah, then we'll have to take it from there. But a lot of people, once you notify them, they just didn't realize it. But
Right.
the whole having them be rentals, that's not cool. And the reason for that is I understand that there's a shortage of housing. I totally get it. I get that there's a shortage of housing. However, RVs are not designed for year-round occupancy. They're not built like a house is. They were never designed to be lived in all the time. And so from a planning standpoint, it's a fire life safety issue. So,
I totally agree.
so
I just didn't want to burden you with having to send letters to 500 people over maybe 10 days instead of you.
yeah, no, it won't be that many, and it won't be that short amount of time. It'll probably be in the next 30 to 45 days, and I was hoping to enlist some help from other departments. Because obviously the police department is out there more than I am out there, and obviously the public works department is out there more than I am out there. So when whoever's doing the meter reading, I can ask the meter reader to just, you know, hey, keep your eyes peeled, just write down the address of the property, and then I can go out and look at it. Because, I mean, I don't really want to go drive up and down every street. I can do that, but there's other people that it probably would be a better use of my time to have them do that.
Yeah, that's a great idea, the meter readers. That's very smart of you.
Well, they go every property every month, so, and then,
Right.
then they're also gonna, if I can have that person, once we know, I can have him tell me next month, okay, you saw it at, 123 First Street, is it still there this month, So that might be the, I'm trying to just think out loud here.
Yep, I like it.
And we might want to do a little campaign, maybe put a little blurb in the paper.
Yeah.
And then put it in the water bills, and then maybe when you get back from the encouraged vacation this month, next month, you guys can start writing letters. And if you do a canned letter, your staff probably can mail them.
And actually, and just
Just
to
make sure
let
they sign
everyone
your name
know,
so you can
I'm not gonna be a Grinch and send out these letters in December, okay? Because I realize that some people probably are living there, that is their home, so Jody's not gonna do anything in December, so.
Yeah.
Um,
And that would mess up with that vacation thing we talked about. So, okay, that is the end of that. We don't have it in our agenda anymore, but we used to allow people to speak at the end of the meeting as well. And I don't know who Debbie C. is, but I'm going to ask you if you wanted to speak tonight. I ask you to unmute.
This is Debbie Carroll. I'm with Prairie County Master Gardeners.
Oh, hi, Debbie.
How are you?
Good.
Good. So we saw your decision in the package for tonight, and we just wanted to show up and express our gratitude for your consideration of our proposal. We understand your reasons why this won't work, but we wanted to say thank you for your time and consideration.
Cool. Julie and Allie were here when we talked about it. We started a little early, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. I didn't log in until right at 6:30, so.
Yeah, we had an urban renewal meeting at 6, so we started early because we thought everybody was here. I'm sorry. You waited this whole time.
Yeah, but it was interesting to hear what you guys are up to, so.
Yeah. Well,
Thank you very much.
All right. And then Miss Sandy, would you like to speak?
Nope, I'm good, thanks guys.
Thank you.
Can
And
I-
Miss Steph, would you like to speak?
Mayor, can I ask either, one of the two ladies that you just ask how the sound quality was for this meeting compared to prior?
Miss Sandy, can you answer that question?
I'm sorry, I stepped away, say again?
How does the sound and video for this meeting, how did it go?
Yeah, great, sorry, my mom was talking to me. Yeah, it sounds wonderful. I love the new owl.
Okay.
Definitely you don't have to holler, there's hardly any echoing, considering the size and the height of the room. There's expected, some canning sound, but no, you guys are crystal clear.
Okay, good. All right, thank you.
Good thing.
Could the chief speak?
Yeah.
Say something just so we can test it from that area?
It's always a pleasure being part of city government in action, and thank you for including me.
Now, is that more candy, Miss Sandy? Or is that clear?
She probably walked away now.
You guys are killing me over here, no.
You stay seated for the whole meeting.
You're the only one that comes to every meeting.
True. No, actually, it was not Kenny. I was hearing him.
Great.
So yeah.
All right, now you can go do something else.
I just was unmuting you guys because I don't want to hear you guys, hear me breathing or burping or something.
Right. All right, back to mute. Oops. Okay, so with that, we will go to Councilor Bradley for councilor comments.
Not too much this month though. I've been having a lot of conversations with Chief Krieger, and we probably need to start talking to him here in the near future about what our fire department needs in looking forward. He's told me, discussed a few really good ideas that I'm gonna wait for him to be here to discuss with us, because I will butcher them, but that's just kind of that heads up to the community that's paying attention, and us as counselors, we probably need to start. I know our original levy's coming up, and there's some long-term needs that Chief Krieger's been discussing with me when we've been out and about. And, over the next month or two, we should probably be inviting him to come and start sharing that with the community.
Okay, Counselor Begala?
Let's see. I don't really have any updates.
Okay.
Nothing
And
really exciting to report.
Counselor McGilvery?
I don't have anything new and exciting either.
I had a question for you. Are you attending the Fair Board meetings?
I'm not. I could be, but I'm not on the fair board.
Okay. Counselor Campbell and Counselor Madison have covered those in the past, and if you wanted to maybe talk with Counselor Madison and maybe make sure one of the two of you are there, that would be really nice.
Sure.
Yeah, and if you don't want to, that's okay too.
No,
I know it's something in your wheelhouse, I believe.
well, I am going to the superintendent's meeting Thursdays.
Okay. Counselor Bernard?
Sorry, I forgot. I do have somebody that will potentially be coming in to talk with you, administrator, about potentially being our guinea pig
Oh,
for
okay.
ADU stuff.
Cool. I did not prepare anything. It's been a crazy month. But I did want to say happy holidays, and I know it's a real joyous time for most people, but it's also a time of sadness for some people and grieving, and I know we did suicide awareness recently, but it could be a time that depression kicks in. So, if you have friends and family that might be hurting, reach out to them and let them know you're available if you are to listen and be there and invite them over. Try to get people through the hard times. But overall, I think it's going to be a good season. There's a lot going on, a lot of decorations up. They did the light show on Saturday, or light parade, I think it's called. And then there's Village Main Street has the drive-through stockings. I don't remember what day that is.
The 18th.
The 18th, okay, so that'll be fun. You gotta be a kid, so we don't get to go.
Oh,
But,
come on, we're all kids.
so, yeah, it's starting to look pretty cool. I love the tree that comes off of the hospital. I think that's really cool. We've never had a building that tall before, so it's kind of neat to be able to do that. Administrator Fritz, do you have an update for us? I know you don't have anything official.
No, just as you had been saying a couple of different times, very discreetly and not at all, I'll probably try to take some time off this month. Haven't really had an opportunity to do that since COVID started. Not that I actually go anywhere, but I need some downtime. So December is traditionally our quietest month of the year, so I will probably try to do that. But other than that, we're still just, slogging through.
We did meet and go over the December and January agenda already, and we'll just have probably a couple things from this meeting that'll go on that. Try to keep it lighter, even though that's the month we review everything. And we do have a council position open. If anybody would like to recommend somebody, I do have some old applications I can go back over. But we can have that discussion. We're not necessarily in a rush because everybody shows up every time. But at some point, we want to get somebody up and running.
When does that position go back? When does that position go back open for vote? Didn't we just vote on that one?
I want to say that it was when you were elected mayor. So when is your position up?
I just got elected last year.
Right, so I think there's still a lot of time left on that one.
Yeah.
She was 4, correct? So it was mayor 2 and 4, which was Councilor Bradley. Yep, so she was just elected. It's a 3-year position.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's how I got started.
Yes.
It's a 3.5-year position.
We can find the next Mayor Kaufman.
20 years from now. 4 years from now. Cool. All right. If that is it, then I will ask for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Councilor Bernard, second by Councilor McGilvery to adjourn. I call the question. Councilor McGilvery.
Aye.
Councilor Bradley.
Aye.
Councilor Bernard.
Aye.
Okay, good meeting. I plan to be in person next month.
I do have to say, that was record speed for 2 meetings in one night.
Yeah, really, really well, yeah,